Yoruba nation. God bless Yoruba nation. God bless Yoruba nation. Yoruba, ara ni ìlú bàbá small, ara ni ìlú àsìkò gbà tá a fẹ́ dá dúró ní. Yes, ara ni Yoruba nation la fẹ́ àsìkò gbà tá a fẹ́ dá dúró ní. Yes, ara ni Yoruba nation Yoruba nation tá a fẹ́ dá dúró ní. Àwa fẹ́ dá dúró ní Yoruba nation Yoruba nation. Yoruba nation fẹ́ dá dúró ní Yoruba nation Yoruba Yoruba nation. Ara ni àwọn ìlú. Àwọn gàrí òrówó gbà o. Wọn ò rówó ẹ̀gẹ́ sán o. Wàhálà ti pọ̀ jù. Epo ti wọ́n ìlú sílé. Òsínbò. Ìlú ti bàjẹ́. Yoruba nation. Yoruba nation. Òmìnira Yorùbá. Orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá. Orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá. Yoruba nation. Òmìnira Yorùbá. Yes, a ti jẹ́ kí àwọn olóògbé tí wọ́n ti ń lò ju gàrí yóò mọ ẹ̀rọ inú wa. Yorùbá nation. Má dìbò. Sọ fún ìyá, sọ fún bàbá, sọ fún gbogbo àwọn tó wà nílé pé kí wọ́n má dìbò. Sọ fún mọ́mí rẹ pé kí wọ́n má dìbò. Sọ ń lé. Sọ fún àwọn ẹ̀gbọ́n rẹ pé wàhálà ti pọ̀ jù. Ó yẹ pariwo kò síbò. Kò síbò. Ẹ pariwo kò síbò. Kò síbò. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation. Dádì, mọ́mí. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Yorùbá is the Yorùbá nation la fẹ́ o. Yorùbá nation la fẹ́ o. Yorùbá nation la fẹ́ o. Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Dádì, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Ẹ pariwo. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. A padà gbàlù ẹ ní sùúrù. Ṣé ń kánjú ni? A gbàlù ẹ. Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Wo ó ti rẹ̀ wá àbí? Pariwo. Dádì, mọ́mí, Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Ẹ pariwo. Kò síbò. Kò síbò. Kò síbò. Kò síbò. Èló ló pe ráìsì agolo kan? 50. Ìnilára ti pọ̀ jù fún yín lóòótọ́. Ó yẹ ká pariwo síta ká gbéga ara wa o. Bọ̀dá mi. báwa náà ṣe rọra fi búrẹ́dì àti bọ́tà lónú o ẹ̀yin ti ẹ̀ gbìyànjú àwọn orí kankan fi lò wàhálà wọn ti pọ̀ jù mínírààsì la fi ń jẹ búrẹ́dì ìlú ti bàjẹ́. àwọn bọ̀dá pupa ní ń lo mínírààsì àwọn ò tí ẹ̀ rí búrẹ́dì jẹ ìyá aláṣọ sáwọn èèyàn sì ń rówó san fún yín báyìí wọ́n tún parọ́ transfer àbí kò sí ẹ̀ tó lọ mọ́ Ọlọ́run gbà wá ìyá Ọlọ́run níjọ́ ọmọ ìyá ọmọ ìyá o Yorùbá nation la fẹ́ o Yorùbá nation a fẹ́ bò. Yorùbá nation and no going back. No going back. Ẹ fi lẹ ẹjọ́ mọ lọ. Ẹyọ mọ. Ẹ má gbé. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation la fẹ́ o. Díẹ̀. Bí gàrí lẹ kó díẹ̀. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Amúnidára sáwọn èèyàn sì ń rówó rán sọ báyìí. Amúnidára sáwọn èèyàn ń rówó rán sọ báyìí. Ọlọ́run ló kù sí ọgbà wa báyìí o ṣùgbọ́n tásìkò bá ti tó sẹ́wọ́n ti ní káà náà tún jáde ẹja jáde o ní ìsìn gbogbo wa tá a tó ní báǹkì ní ìsìn wọn ò já rí gbà tó yọ rí bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n ní a wá béèrè pé só tó gẹ́ àbí ò tó gẹ́ ìyá ipọ̀ ẹ̀mí tá à ń rí pọ̀ ewé tí a fi ń pa ṣé báyìí láà máa bá lọ orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá gbé wa kó ní gbọ́dàlẹ̀ òní wálẹ̀ ta ló sọ fún ọ bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n là ń lọ 800 o rò pé lásán la jáde ni wọ́n lé 800 lápàdà mọ́ra lítà ìgbà nílùú tó wà lé.
Ìgbà tún ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò tún ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò tẹ́lẹ̀ àbẹ̀yàmọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò tẹ́lẹ̀ àbẹ̀yàmọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó. Àsìkò ti tó. Àti dára wà lọ́wọ́ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò tẹ́lẹ̀ sílẹ̀ mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àbẹ̀lẹ̀ yàgbẹ̀yàmọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó. Àsìkò ti tó. Àti dára wà lọ́wọ́ ìjọba. Ọmọ Odùduwà rìpọ́bìlì asọwasọwọ asọwasọlá àgbà mẹ́rọ àfẹ́lẹ́ àgbẹ̀yàwó àfẹ́lẹ́ sísè wọn àwọn ìjọba wa ara wọn nìkan ló jà fún ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbé rìpọ́bìlì láwùjẹ Odùduwà rìpọ́bìlì ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbé láwùjẹ. Ó lè san wá sọ́wọ́, ó lè san wá sọ́mọ́. Àsọ̀wá gbàlàbíà àdìbàjẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀. Àní àsìkò yìí tó ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò yìí tó jẹ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. abiyamọ. Ọmọ Odùduwà. Ẹ jẹ́ ká dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ àwọn gbogbo àgbàgbà Yorùbá látòrí Emeritus Professor Banji Akintoye, Comrade Ìbíkọ́ Táíwò, Olóyè Sunday Ìgbòho, ẹ bá mi tọ́jú bàbá gbèdé ààrẹ Gani Adams àti gbogbo Yorùbá akíkanjú ọmọ Yorùbá tó wà lórí Yorùbá látòrí Mr. Adékúnlé Adébòye àní ìgbà ṣe ọmọ Odùduwà. Ìgbà ṣe ọmọ Odùduwà. Àbẹ̀lẹ̀ àbẹ̀yàmọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àbẹ̀lẹ̀ ẹ̀sẹ̀mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó láti gbára lọ́wọ́ ìjọba. Ẹni tó gbójú àdìmọ́ mi kó lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀sùn
from around the globe. It is the second day of February 2023, and this is Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. And I'm reporting live from Surulere, Lagos State. This is to inform the Yoruba sons and daughters and all the people of the world in general, including international communities, about an atrocity which was committed yesterday evening, the 4th day of February 2023, at about 10 p.m. by men of the Nigeria Police in Lagos State, known as RRS Police, in an attempt to abduct and assassinate one of our active Yoruba men who has been clamoring for self-determination through a legal means. The Oba Ogboni Abalaye Oba Tajudeen Olaiwaju Bakari, Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Oba Ogboni Abalaye received the information of the attack on his office that happened around 10 p.m. yesterday evening and quickly informed every groups and individuals he could inform. And this is why we are here to show the world and all Yoruba sons and daughters. And this is the aftermath of yesterday's attack at his office. As you can all see, everywhere, not bad, not down, Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. So, we received the distress call yesterday evening that his office was attacked an hour after he left his office around 9 p.m. And the atrocity was carried out by the Nigeria Police in Lagos, known as RRS Police. And his office was destroyed. Gunshots were fired severely. And one man was reported, two men were reportedly taken away from around his office, Bello family. Mr. Bello and his brother also. Bello Razak Bello. Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. There was also an assassination attempt on him last week by political thugs. Yes, you can. There was also an attempt to assassinate him last week by political thugs in this Surulere vicinity in Lagos State when he was in his office. But the attempt was unsuccessful. Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Well, nevertheless, this is also a reminder that this is a replica of what the Nigerian government did to our leader, Chief Dr. Sunday Adeyemo Igboho Osha in his Ibadan residence through the Nigerian Army and Secret Police, known as DSS, and some other security forces in the middle of the night of July 1, 2021. In an attempt to assassinate him, which also resulted to the death of 2 of our Yoruba men by severe gunshot wound from the security men. Yes. And their remains were taken away, as well as 12 others that were whisked away before legal steps were taken to secure their release. But the bodies of the 2 men that were not released. Yes. Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. This is a reminder that this was also a replica of what happened to our leader, Chief Dr. Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, on July 1, 2021. Meanwhile, we are using this medium to tell the world about the manner in which the Nigerian government has been clamping down on freedom fighters. It is illegal and unacceptable. This is purely described as a violation of fundamental rights of the citizen, and it is well known that Nigeria is also a member of the United Nations, UN, and African Union, AU. And Article 3 of the United Nations says, Article 3 of the United Nations Charter says that indigenous people have the right to self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. So that is what the Article 3 of the United Nations Charter says. And this is also applicable to Nigeria, so far as Nigeria is among the countries forming the United Nations. Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Once again, it is 2nd of February 2023. So we are also using this medium to draw the attention of the executive governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide, Lagos State government, and the Nigeria government in general to this attacking incident done by the RRS police in Lagos. We are taking notes and we are informing the world about all these atrocities, which has led to the untimely death of other young people like Jumoke Redele, one girl that was hit by stray bullets from the Lagos RRS policemen when they were attacking the Yorubas who were asking for self. Yes. While Oba Ogboni Agbalaye was also arrested with some other people that very day, before legal steps were taken to secure their release also. Koikimedia Kebaranti, one more Abalaye no nígbà kan. So the same 2021, an attack was also carried out by security men of Nigeria government on the residence of one of our resilient father and leader, a person of Professor Emeritus Banji Stephen Akintoye, Babada, in an attempt to assassinate him as well, which was unsuccessful. En fait, Ben Onoshelo attaque Baba wa Professor Banji Akintoye náà ní Ekiti, kó tó di pé wọ́n rí wọn mú, kò successful. And also, the very recent one to happen on the 9th of January 2023, when the Yorubas gathered again to ask for a right to self-determination, which led to the death of a young Yoruba man who was killed by the same Lagos RS police by stray bullet that kills and dry the blood instantly. Now, this question goes to the world leaders and international communities. Is it a crime to ask for self-determination? Is it a crime to ask for self-determination in a legal way? So why are the world and international communities keeping mute on all these atrocities and clampdowns on people fighting for their rights? You are not going to accept this anymore. You are not going to accept any more of this. Our right to self-determination must be recognized. We are not terrorists or miscreants. We are exercising our rights as an indigenous people. Koikimedia bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. Once again, this is second day of February 2023, and the world must be put to notice that we, the Yorubas, we are tired of how we are being subjugated on our land. Self-determination is not a crime. Yoruba nation is our right. Oba Ogboni Agbalaye Obatayodi Bakare is not a criminal. He is not a terrorist. He is an activist, clamoring, fighting for the freedom of his people in a legal manner. So once again, Oba Ogboni Agbalaye Obatayodi Olaniwaju Bakare office in Surulere, area of Lagos State, was attacked yesterday evening. All that way by one by everything, one that way, one you kakakiri. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn èèyàn mọ̀lẹ́bí wọn tó wọ́n àbí lọ́ṣẹ̀ tún gbogbo ọ́fíìsì wọn tó bí báyìí. So the first day of February 2023 ló ṣe lánàá ní aago mẹ́wàá by the men of the Nigeria police in Lagos State, the RRS. Few days after it was attacked by some political thugs also in the same vicinity, Surulere here in Lagos. So, Lagos State, I'm using this medium to tell you, no arms was before about Ogboni Agbalaye. He is well known as freedom fighter, fighting for freedom of his people. He has always been arrested. He has also been arrested on the 1st of July when Yorubas were asking for their right to self-determination in Lagos State, and was later set free after legal means was pursued. Oba Tajuddin Bakare is not a criminal. He has rights under Article 3 of the United Nations Charter to ask for self-determination. Yoruba nation is our right. Koikimedia bring you the world closer to your doorstep. So, mo pe gbe yomo Yoruba, ẹ jọ̀wọ́, ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́, ẹ má ṣe jẹ́ ká máa dalẹ̀ ara wa. Ẹ jọ̀wọ́, ẹ̀yin ọba wa, ẹ̀yin traditional rulers wa, ẹ̀yin ọba wa, ẹ jọ̀wọ́, ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ síta, ẹ sọ òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀. Bàbá yìí, ọba Ògbóni Àgbáláyé, wọn kì í ṣe terrorist o. He's an activist and is fighting in legal means, in a legal manner. So, màá fọ̀rọ̀ wá ẹnìkan lẹ́nu wò mí báyìí sìn tó wà níbí lánàá ìgbà tí kìíní ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀. Mọ́mì wa ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ má bínú. Kí ni ẹ bá àwọn ará ilé sọ̀rọ̀?
Ẹ wò ó ti fẹ́ máa yẹ sú wa o. Nínú àwa mẹ́sàn-án, àwa mẹ́jọ là ń ṣe APC. Táfà Tajúbádé ń ṣe Yorùbá nation. Mi rò pé ń tó burú jù we are in nation of freedom. Kí ló dé? Ní last week èèyàn mẹ́ta ló wá náà fẹ́ wá pa ń bì. Tó fi sáré bọ́ta pé wọ́n ní òun dà ó wà nílé. Ní àná àwọn ọlọ́pàá ti surround gbogbo bí wọ́n yìnbọn wọ́n yin tear gas wọ́n tún kó yọ̀ méjì lọ. Àròrùn sùn tílẹ̀ fi mọ́ kí ló dé? Kí ni nǹkan náà? Ṣé kì í ṣọmọ ìyá mọ́ ni wàhálà yìí ti pọ̀ ju ẹ má pọ̀ ọmọ wa ẹjọ́ o ẹjọ́ torí Ọlọ́run o gbogbo Sùúrùlérè Abẹ́yìn o Lagos State ẹjọ́ ẹ má fọwọ́ lágbá wa lójú o gbogbo nulẹ̀ náà dàrú wọ́n fẹsẹ̀ jálẹ̀kùn ni wọ́n fẹsẹ̀ já ọ́fíìsì gbogbo nulẹ̀ gbogbo òkèlè náà ti kó gbogbo nǹkan àmọ́ ń tán kó àmọ́ tó ní mo ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ àrẹ́jì gbogbo ẹ̀ kí n tó sùn aago 6 àbọ̀dájí yìí ni mo tó sùn ọkàn wa ò balẹ̀ ṣé tó bá ní BP tán mú bọ̀ tán dà sílẹ̀ tán mú tear gas tán dà sílẹ̀ ṣé èèyàn ò ti kú ni ẹ má pa wá àwọn náà lọ máa dìbò fún yín kí ló dé.
Sọ̀rọ̀ gbòǹbì àwọn jẹ́ kọ́ mọ̀ ní pé ohun tí wọ́n ṣe crime ló ń commit against humanity. They are committing crimes against humanity. Gbogbo ọ́fíìsì wọn lè rí wọ́n ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tutù díẹ̀ láàárọ̀ ẹni ẹ má bínú tẹ́bà lè rí dáadáa wọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tutù láàárọ̀ ẹni ẹ̀wọ́ bó ṣe fọ́ ogun nǹkan wọ́n fọ́ gíláàsì ọba ogun nǹkan jẹ́ lónìí lálẹ́ àná.
Gbogbo aago wọn náà bàjẹ́ náà fọ́ yamayama yìí.
Gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ́tọ́
kí ló dé kí ló ṣe fún wọn ẹni tó kàwé ni.
Koikimedia bring you the world closer to your doorstep. Tí mo pé ẹ̀yin ọba ẹ̀yin ìjòyè ẹ̀yin olóyè gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá má ṣe já dalẹ̀ ara wa mọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká sọ òótọ́ bó ṣe ń dalẹ̀ ara wa bó ṣe ń rán wa síra wa yìí kò máa dà. Ṣé ẹ mọ̀ pé ẹni tó ń gbéṣẹ́ ẹrú ràn yìí ṣé ẹ mọ̀ pé kò lè trust yìí ni ìgbà tó yẹ pé ti lè dalẹ̀ ọmọ ìyá yìí ọmọ bàbá yìí kò lè trust ẹ̀yin náà ẹ̀mí tẹ̀yin náà safe. Ẹ má ṣe jẹ́ ká dalẹ̀ ara wa mọ́ ẹ jẹ́ ká sọ̀rọ̀ in one voice. Ẹ jẹ́ ká sọ̀rọ̀ in one voice. Àwọn people tẹ́lẹ̀ lẹ́yìn àwọn they are our common enemies. Nítorí owó nítorí ipò àwọn ṣera wa báṣubàṣu. We are brothers. Yorùbá ẹ ronú. Ẹ jẹ́ ká ronú.
Ọwọ́ ẹni ẹlẹ́ni tó gbé lọ látànà sí ọ̀sán yìí lọ́ tó mọ̀ pé aláwùsá náà gbé wọn lọ.
Aláwùsá ni wọ́n ní kí wọ́n jẹ́ àwọn tó gbé lọ.
Tiwa ìjà ti dé kí ló dé.
Àwọn ẹbí wọn ti dé wọ́n sì ti lọ síbi tí wọ́n gbé wọn lọ wọn kọ́ mọ ibi tó gbé wọn lọ ọ̀ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ confam ibi tó ṣẹ̀ bí ọ̀ṣẹ̀ rí wọn gbé lọ ni. So ẹ jọ̀ọ́ tẹ́ bá rí ẹni news àbí ìròyìn kankan ní pé wanted ni àbí terrorist ni àbí kankan mo bẹ̀ yín mo rọ̀ yín ẹ jẹ́ ká debunk ASAP. Ẹ jẹ́ ká debunk tẹ́ bá rí ẹni ẹ wo bó ṣe wo bí tẹ́ ń wò yìí gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ bàjẹ́ lọ dá gbogbo rẹ̀ ọ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tó gbogbo ẹ̀ ní mọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀kúlé náà gbogbo ẹ̀ lọ dáhùn yamayama. So Ọba Ògbóni is not a terrorist. He is fighting for the freedom of his people. So, once again, Article 3 of the United Nations Charter says that indigenous people have the right to self-determination. By the virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. So, you know, you can choose freely. So, we are letting the world know now, at international communities, why are they keeping mute on what the Nigerian government have been doing to us? Ìjọpọ̀ náà lọ́fẹ̀lọ́fẹ̀lọ́ assassinate bàbá wa Dr. Sunday Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho sílé ní Ìbàdàn wọn nílé wọn ní Ìbàdàn kó tó di pé kò wà successful. Ìjọpọ̀ lọ́fẹ̀lọ́ assassinate bàbá náà sílé bàbá Professor Emeritus Banji Akintoye. Is this how to dialogue with freedom fighters? Àwa lọ change narratives ní pé kankan is a terrorist kan bá ẹ jẹ́ ká debunk ASAP ẹ jọ̀wọ́ mo bẹ̀ wá ní. We are also using this medium to draw the attention of the executive governor of Lagos State once again, Governor Babájídé Sanwó-Olú, the Lagos State government and the Nigerian government in general to this incident that was done by the RS police in Lagos. We are taking note and we are informing the world about these atrocities, which has also led to untimely death of some other young people too, like Jumoke, like Adeoriokin, that was killed by Lagos police, RS police. We are not terrorists, we are freedom fighters. Gbogbo èyí tẹ́ ń gbàgbọ́dé Ọlọ́run á bí yín. Àmín, àṣẹ. Ọlọ́run á bí yín. Àṣẹ. Ọlọ́run á bí yín lẹ́ẹ̀kankan. Àṣẹ o. Nítorí dorí mẹ́. Ẹ ń ta ọmọ ìyá yín nítorí dorí mẹ́. Nítorí owó. Nítorí ẹ fẹ́ yọkùn. Ẹ ń máa ta ọmọ ìyá yín. Ṣé àwọn tó ń rán yín kẹ́ ta ọmọ ìyá yín ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ rẹ̀ báwọn náà máa trust yín ni? They can never have any trust in you. That is it. They can never have any trust in you because of what? Because so I'm going to trust there. So your life is not safe. And me safe. Yeah, that is it. But I don't know any what to farm on every other places. I want imagine they sent 3 people to come and assassinate Oba Ogboni last week. The police could not say anything about it. They could not say anything about it. Operation. As you can see, United Nations. Debunk news tear gas so anybody ò lè sùn torí tear gas ọ̀hún tó yìn ó ti pọ̀ jù ǹjẹ́ èèyàn lè sùn níbi tó yìn tear gas nítorí láì ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pọ́fí wá bá battalion bá gbé kó àwọn ẹni ẹlẹ́ni tó ọmọ nǹkankan wọ́n tún kó wọn lọ látàrí aago 12. We are calling on the Lagos State government. We are calling on the Lagos State government and the Nigerian government and the international bodies. We are calling on them. We are not terrorists. We are freedom fighters. Gbogbo award gbogbo nǹkan tó dá gbogbo rẹ̀ rú lánàá. Wọ́n ṣe tó àwọn kan yẹn. Kẹ́ bá rí ẹ máa ṣe ní pé gbogbo ìbàgbọ́n ṣì scatter àwọn ṣì dá ẹ máa ṣe rí gbogbo tébù yẹn gbogbo ẹ lọ dànù lánàá. So òun lè rí ẹ. So that is why we came to do this live and let you know what happened. Koikimedia bring you the word closer to your doorstep. So the question goes to the world is that the world leaders and international communities again. Is it a crime to ask for self-determination? Is it a crime? In a legal way. Is it a crime? Where are the world and international communities keeping mute on all these atrocities and clampdowns on people fighting for their rights? Why are they keeping mute? So we are not going to accept this anymore. We are not going to accept any more of this. Our right to self-determination must be recognized. We are not terrorists or miscreants. We are exercising our rights as an indigenous people. We are exercising our rights as an indigenous people. So once again, it is the 2nd of February 2023. And the world must be put to notice again That we, the Yoruba, we are tired of how we are being subjugated on our land. We are tired of all these things.
Ìgbà táwa Yorùbá fìyà jẹra wa báyìí. Tí gómìnà Sanwó-Olú kan bá gbọ́ nǹkan, ó yẹ kó wá àwọn èèyàn pàtàkì, àwọn èèyàn gidi wá kó máa ṣèwádìí ni. Kò ṣe pé ìbọn náà máa wá fi dé wa mọ́lé. Lóru kí ló dé fẹ́ pa wá ni? Tẹ́ bá pa wá ṣàlẹ̀ dìbò fún yín ni. Tí yín ló dẹ̀ là ń ṣe, kí ló dé? Wàhálà yìí ti pọ̀ jù, gbogbo ọmọ wa ò rọrùn sùn. Àwa náà ti sùn látànà.
So once again, Oba Ogboni Obalajudeen Bakare office was attacked yesterday evening by the men of the Nigeria Police of Lagos State, RRS Police. And I'm sure that it was masterminded by the so-called representatives of Lagos State, Surulere, I think,
Akerele Extension.
Bajambia Miller, what's his name? We are using this medium to call you people. We can never, we won't accept this anymore. I will not accept anymore. We have right to defend ourselves. And it is free. It is free. You can say, oh, she peace more, oh, she more. You can do it. It is free. So, and when the pictures, he has been arrested some times ago. When it was found with us, Batan She Rally, and it was also they all even accused Babawa. So thank God ni pé èyí gan yóò jẹ́ tomata fi vindicate ara wa. Yes, wọ́n accuse Baba Ọba Ògbóni nípa àwọn ọlọ́pàá Jùmọ̀kẹ́ Oyèdélé. Tí àwọn kọ sí àwọn kọlọ́sì pa kó tó di pé repossession jáde ní last year tá parí tán ní pé after 1 year ní pé police ló pa. Kí ló ṣe sí? They are killing people, they are killing everyone. Gbogbo èyí tẹ́ ń dalẹ̀ tẹ́ ń gbàbọ̀dẹ̀. Ọlọ́run á mú yí o, Ọlọ́run ó mú yí. Lè escape rẹ̀ bó ti jẹ́nu Ọlọ́run ó mú yí. We don't hate gbogbo yìí, we don't hate any. Better come back home. Ẹ padà wálé. It is high time to come back home. Gbogbo àwọn tó ń lò yìí wọ́n máa padà dá yín nù dànù ni. We are not angry with you people, we are only trying to revive. Ẹ mọ̀ pé ìtàn burúkú lẹ̀ ń kọ lẹ́yẹ. Gbogbo èyí tẹ́ ń gbàbọ̀dẹ̀ fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá láti má gbòmìnira. Tẹ́lẹ̀ pé ó sì jẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá sì ní ìtàn burúkú lẹ̀ ń kọ́lẹ̀ fáwọn àti wọ́n dìrò ọmọ yìí. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo sọ fún yín, ìrandíran àti wọ́n dìrò ọmọ yìí, ìtàn burúkú lẹ̀ ń kọ́lẹ̀, ẹ sì máa kéré rẹ̀. Ẹ jẹ́ ká ronú. Gbogbo wa á jẹ gbèsè bá ṣe wà, everybody la jẹ gbèsè, gbogbo wa la ní gbèsè lórí. Kí ni gbèsè ọ̀hún tá à ń sọ? Gbèsè ọ̀hún tá à ń sọ, kí ni gbèsè ọ̀hún tá à ń sọ? Ikú ni gbèsè tí gbogbo wa jẹ, ikú, death is imminent. Yes, it is imminent. It will eventually happen to every one of us in a different way. We can never live long, we can never live forever on earth. Yes. Ẹ jẹ́ ká ronú.
Àwọn lọ sùn ẹni lára ẹ ti pọ̀ jù àwọn kan wá dìde pé ó yẹ kó tó gẹ́ láṣẹ Ọlọ́run yóò tó gẹ́ lórí wa. Ìyá ẹ káàsán máa wàhálà yìí ti pọ̀ jù. Epo wọn kò sówó nígboro, ọ̀nà wa ò dáa, kò sí wòsàn ọ̀fẹ́, kò sẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ọ̀fẹ́, gbogbo ẹ̀ lórí irọ́ náà ni gbogbo ẹ̀. Gàrí ni ìyá mi mú yìí o, wọ́n dẹ̀ ní ọjà nígbà táwọn èèyàn ta ọmọ wọn lọ skul nígbà àwọn òrówó gbà tí ò sọjà, kò yẹ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o. Ẹ sọ pé láṣẹ Ọlọ́run Yorùbá nation ó dá dúró, Yorùbá ó dá dúró, ìtura ó báyé wa. Àmín ìyá ipò gàrí ni màmá mi yìí o. Àwọn ọmọ lọ skul. Àmín màmá Yorùbá nation ni o. Abẹ́ kí ni ìnira yìí kó dínkù. Ẹni kọ́lọ́run bá wa ṣe. Àṣẹ. Ẹ wọ̀ náà wá bó ṣe rí. Kò sí ẹ̀kọ́ ọ̀fẹ́, kò sí ìwòsàn ọ̀fẹ́, kò sí nǹkan kan tí ń dún yàn nínú orílẹ̀-èdè tá a wà. Ìjọba amúnisìn nìkan ni. Kí ló dé? Owó tà tún náà wọ̀n já rí ná. Tí Yorùbá bá ti dá dúró, wàhálà yẹn ó dínkù. Ọlọ́run ràn wá lọ́wọ́. So tásìkò bá ti tó tí wọ́n bá fẹ́ dìbò wọn ẹ má bá wọn jáde ti yín o, ẹ má bá wọn dì o. Ọlọ́run ràn wá lọ́wọ́. Òní kò sọ́jà. Sọ́jà. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Bàbá ẹ káàsán. Ẹni tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ni pé bàbá ìlú lé wàhálà pọ̀ lù ẹ wo àtúntò pamọ́ àtúnrí gbà ẹ wo tá à ń repo láti lọ skul. Ẹ jẹ́ bàbá jágbọ́n náà wà fẹ́ sọ.
Mo wá ní mo fẹ́ gbowó wá ní mo fẹ́ gbowó tí màmí o
àbẹ́kí ẹ̀bà tó ń gba transfer báńkì ìmọ̀lẹ́ ti àwa rówó bàbá ẹ̀ sọ́lẹ̀ kan sí wọ́n ní tẹ́bà gba transfer báńkì. Wàhálà dé ẹ wo Facebook wọn ẹ wo Facebook wọn.
lọ́ọ̀tì wọ́n sọ bí adé láti lẹ́ nìkan. Ẹ lọ́ wá sọ̀rọ̀ yìí. Òfin tó wá sọ
olóhùn gbẹdẹmukẹ communication wọ́n ní tí yàrá ní aráàlú Awólọ́wọ̀ bàbá Awólọ́wọ̀ sọ pé fúnra wa ládìde tágbìjà ara wa àsìkò ti tó tágbìjà ara wa àwọn èèyàn mo sí àti báwọn èèyàn sọ̀rọ̀ ń bẹ̀ yẹn ẹni nílẹ̀ ìjẹ̀bùgà ìlànà wà láàyè jẹ́sì lọ́jà nígbà tí wọ́n ta ẹgbọ́n nǹkan bàbá tó fún wọn lówó tó fi jẹun òye orí bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ̀wù kókó táwọn ọmọ ẹsẹ̀ mú látara ọmọ tó lọ skul kókó tí ó dé lébò ní ẹ̀wù kókó sẹ́rù kókó yìí lágbára Ọlọ́run yóò dópin. Bàbá onípàtì ìyá aláṣọ. Nàìjíríà ní kó Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation.
Wọ́n tún gbowó wa, a tún ní wọn bá mi, wọ́n ò tún fún ẹ mọ́. Àdìbò mọ́. Àdìbò mọ́.
Ẹ fi káàdì yín pamọ́ wàhálà ti pọ̀ jù. Ẹ fi káàdì yín pamọ́. Ẹ fi pamọ́. Ẹ fi káàdì yín pamọ́. Olè ni wọ́n màmá, olè ni wọ́n. Olè ni wọ́n, olè àwọn olè. Ìlú ń kanra lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí. Ara ń kan ìlú. Àwọn èèyàn ta. Torí bẹ́ẹ̀ làwa fi ń pariwo pé Yorùbá nation la fẹ́. Yorùbá nation.
Àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ wa ò fún wa lórí irọ́ ni, wọ́n ṣe títí fún wa lórí irọ́, àtúkọ́ wọn bá ń ṣàtúnwò wọn àgbà má, ebi ń pa àwọn èèyàn, bá àdìbò mọ́.
Ebi ti pọ̀ jù màmá o. Ọlọ́run ni ó gbà wá. 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 Yá ń sá fún kámẹ́rà. Àbọ̀dọ̀ làwọn ọmọ rẹ̀.
Òdìbò àdìbò mọ́. Ẹni bá dìbò yóò ṣọ̀fọ̀ ni ó. Ẹni bá dìbò yóò kó pọ̀ lóṣù ni ó. Ìyàrí tó fẹ́ lọ pa tó fẹ́ ilé ìfẹ́ pa tó fẹ́
Èló lè po?
400.
350. Èló ló pe po? Wàhálà ti pọ̀ jù. Ó yóò dópin àbí ó yẹ kó dópin. Ẹ sọ fáwọn tó ń wò wá láti lè pé ó tó gẹ́. Ẹni yà tó gẹ́. Tó tá bá fẹ́ tó gẹ́, tá bá fẹ́ kó tó gẹ́, a fẹ́ kí Yorùbá ó dá dúró. Kí Yorùbá ó dá dúró. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Ìwọ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀wò. Hello Akim. Hello. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀?
Ẹ̀dọ́ ta ló gbà búrẹ́dì ẹ̀yin nation ẹ̀yin ló lè.
Ìgbà ọ̀tun ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ọ̀tun ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò ṣẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò ṣẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó, àsìkò ti tó láti gbára wa lọ́wọ́ ìjọba polisi. Àsìkò ti tó.
Hello, and Mrs. Kara Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
May I say how delighted we are to be on Passion. We look forward to speaking to an African television station for decades. This is something we have looked forward to for such a long time, and we're so happy to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron Smith was a young, bright, and principled Oxford University graduate who was recruited by the Colonial office and posted to Nigeria. He took his final examination a year ahead of his class. He also married Mrs. Carol Smith, whom he met while they were both at Oxford University. Together they went to Nigeria, where they had their 2 children. Mr. Aaron Smith, you were featured in a program recently by BBC Radio 4 titled Document, and that was hosted by Mr. Mike Thompson. You are alleged that the British government rigged the first and most important election in the history of Nigeria in 1959 in favor of the North. Am I correct?
Yes.
How long were you in Nigeria for?
From 1955 to 1960. And we were based in Lagos. I was on the staff of the Department of Labour. I was largely occupied with employment problems, all the employment exchanges, and statistics, and international reports, and was kept pretty busy. I was also stationed in Lagos in charge of the capital and port. I was the port labour officer as well, and I also devised a port labour scheme, and later a social security scheme, which was one of the first in Africa, which guaranteed workers some income after they finished work. It was a providence scheme, as I say, it's called the National Providence Scheme, and I was very proud to have put that on the statute book.
I was going to ask you what your role is. You mentioned 3 important. Is there any particular name given to your office while you were there?
I was a labour officer. a senior civil servant. I only intended to stay in Lagos initially for 2 tours of duty. Although, because of this conflict with the elections, there were difficulties. Actually, government wouldn't let me leave the civil service. They were determined that I should stay in the civil service after my 2 tours. And I was offered very considerable incentives, including a knighthood, to stay and work for government. Primarily this was because I had access to state secrets. I learned, and the Governor-General himself confirmed this to me, that the elections were rigged, contrived. The intention was that the North should rule Nigeria. Even in '56, the northern leaders were very proud and were saying, if they couldn't run Nigeria, never mind elections. They might not join Nigeria. They might leave. And we all thought, well, how would they survive? There were no industries. There's not a great deal of agriculture, some groundnuts in the north. This wasn't very practical at all. And then it was, the Governor-General seemed to be thinking that the North couldn't, even if it won an election, rule Nigeria by itself. The South wouldn't stand for that. So there had to be a partner, either the Igbos in the east or the Yoruba in the west, to team up with the North. What he didn't want was for the 2 southern parties, the Igbo and the Yoruba, to team up to form the government, because he believed the North wouldn't tolerate that and talked about leaving the federation. So as I learned, in a small way at first, but very rapidly I learned about the election fixing, and as I say, this was confirmed to me by the Governor-General. He actually said that he wanted me to know the truth because he wanted me to know how much trouble I was in.
You mentioned statistics, you were collecting figures. Yes. Is that for labor and unemployed people only, or general?
Primarily, but obviously my interest was in the population
of generally. Nigeria.
Yes, and Awolowo, the Yoruba leader of the action group, yep, and Chief Enaharo, they too, other people were saying, where are all these millions of people in the north? Where are they? We're going up there to campaign. We want to know, And you see all these, thousands of miles of not very developed countryside, and yet the northerners are claiming that their voting registration figures are larger than in the south, larger, far more people up there. Well, actually, if you went through the Igbo land, Enugu and that, you saw lots and lots of people. If you went to Ibadan, again, Ibadan teeming, with millions of people. But we didn't actually see many northerners, and obviously not many northerners at that time came to Lagos. So this did arouse suspicion. Now, the Europeans, not stupid, we are watching what's going on in Nigeria, and we too are beginning to feel there's something not quite right here, that maybe the elections are not going to be as straightforward as they're meant to be. Nigeria was being described as the showcase of democracy, and it was expected that the nationalist leaders would win through. But actually, when the election results were announced by the Governor-General, before the vote was even in, he didn't count for that, he didn't wait for that. I have to tell you, the British were counting the votes, and the British cannot be trusted. They look after their friends. Loyalty is the big thing for the British. And we were friends with the emirs of the north. We looked on people like Enaharo and Awolowo as rather dangerous people. They might even be communists. That's ridiculous, actually. They couldn't be communists in 1,000 years. But this was a sort of thing that was being said. And we were, Europeans, were getting a bit worried about all this. It wasn't quite the honest, straightforward election that we were hoping for.
Apart from Professor Anderson and Dr. Patrick Wilmot that supported your submission on the rigged election, there were other people who also served in the colonial office in your days. I mean, who opposed to this submission?
Initially, I was warned of what was going on by my senior officer, a Major Bunker. I didn't know, and I knew that the Governor-General had directed me to take all the office staff of the Ministry of Labour to help Chief Okoti Igbo in politicking in Warri. And this was most irregular, and I refused to do this. Having refused an order, I know what the drill is. You resign. I resign my post. That is the proper thing to do. What they did then was rather devious. They persuaded me to withdraw my resignation, and when I did, they sacked me. It didn't go through, but I thought it was a bit low after I'd resigned and was prepared to leave the country. This was not very nice behaviour. They later withdrew this and said that I had been of some service to the state, and actually commended me for what I had done, and said I could leave Nigeria with splendid testimonials, and we shook hands on this. And this was done with the recognition of the Deputy Governor-General, Sir Ralph Grey. And then I left Nigeria the first time and took up a job as a personnel officer, a very big job, with the Esso refinery. And then government came after me, declared that I was a traitor, and I had betrayed the British people, ought to be imprisoned, and I lost that job. And then they came to me again and said it's all been a big mistake, dreadful mistake. I'm a jolly decent chap, you know, Oxford chap, and they put me on a plane straight back to Nigeria, where I'd make up for the time I'd been away. There was a great deal of good work for me to do, and we fell for this. We shouldn't have gone back, but we did.
Now, if you recall what you said about the role of the Governor-General and the attitude of the British government in particular, regarding the fear that Awolowo, Okotiebo, and the lot of them from the south are dangerous, is there a particular reason? Why the fear from the British government? Is it that they don't want to release or relinquish Nigeria? They still want to control Nigeria?
They knew that the North would do as they said after independence. If it had any, the North would just, because it was their habit, they liked the British, whereas the nationalists were an unknown factor. Actually, when they took the flag down and hoisted the Nigerian flag, not one of the major nationalist politicians was there. They weren't even on the platform. This was incredible. These were the people who had sought independence. The people in the North didn't want independence. They didn't want the British to leave. So this was a farce. And for most Europeans who were very close on watching this, we were disgusted. We thought this really had been manipulated, this election. It was unworthy. It was unworthy of the British people, this. This was no honest, straightforward thing that you would expect Britain, the mother of parliaments, to do. This was cheap and low and criminal. And I opposed it. And I opposed it then, and I've opposed it ever since. And I'm telling you the truth. And I was warned, if I told you this state secret, my life could be forfeit.
Earlier on, you said the British government wanted the North in alliance with either of the southern region, either with the Yorubas or with the Igbos.
But
without which they cannot
they can't do it this
rule the country.
The problem was that Awolowo was a highly principled man.
Okay.
You didn't talk to Awolowo about squalid deals and fixing things. Awolowo was not that kind of person. If you read his books, this man was a world statesman. And his young lieutenant, Chief Enaharo, was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. However, they did do a deal with Zik, Dr. Azikiwe,
okay,
from the east. Dr. Azikiwe, there was this big problem in Nigeria. It's the same big problem in America and in Britain. How do you get funds to fight elections? The candidates in Nigeria had no money, but they did have marketing boards, which were a kind of semi-nationalized industry. And they borrowed money from the marketing boards. But there was a suspicion that Dr. Azikiwe, who has formed his own bank, the African Continental Bank, was actually bankrupt. But he was borrowing very large sums of money from the marketing boards and not necessarily repaying the loans. Mm. We knew this. We had a great secret service. All the politicians' phones were tapped. All the politicians' mail was opened. Everything that any major politician did in Nigeria, we knew in hours. We watched. We knew all that was going on.
Are you saying, in essence, that Dr. Azikiwe took money?
He was blackmailed by the British to do our bidding. We told Dr. Azikiwe that he could go to prison if an inquiry was carried out into his bank and his financial circumstances. However, we would not want to be vindictive if Dr. Azikiwe was cooperative in helping forward the plans that we had made in the best interests of Nigeria. Dr. Azikiwe had nothing in common with the northern politicians. He loathed the northern politicians. But Dr. Azikiwe went north and did as he was told. And what he was promised was this. The real power, effective power, would be in the hands of the northern emirs. However, it would look great if the president was Dr. Azikiwe and he was given a field marshal's uniform and an admiral's uniform. He asked, please, could he have a row of medals? But they said, well, no, that was a bit difficult, to get the medals. So when the ambassadors started arriving, he was known to be asking people from foreign countries, perhaps they had a medal for his uniform. We thought this was terrible, but it was said that this happened. He was very vain. And for a time, he functioned as first the Governor General, and then when Nigeria became a republic, as the president. But he had no power. And when he did try to tell the army, he said, I'm the field marshal, the army has got to do with this. They said, hey, you're just a ceremonial figure. You have no power. The Prime Minister, Balewa, gives us our orders. So there was a feeling then that there was going to be trouble. And then it was because the Awolowo and the Action Group had become the official opposition. What we British wondered, how could they win another election without the British counting the votes? There could not be another proper run election without us there. We knew what we were doing. We were just helping things along. We were doing what the British do, favouring our friends and looking after our own and repaying favours. We don't call that corruption.
Right. I mean, in essence, what Dr. Azikiwe did, it was forced by the British government to do it.
Yes.
Collecting money from the marketing board then.
Yes.
So if any politician here in the United Kingdom tried to do that,
Be in jail.
he will be in jail. So why did the British government refuse to take action
Because
or comment on
if we nipped it in the bud, because we knew it was happening, it was even happening in, let me be fair, in the West with the Wallowo. They were taking some money. They meant to repay it perhaps, but they were taking money. And I would have said, issue a warning now and say, you know, you've got to behave, because if this is allowed to go on, it'll be a major offence. However, before they actually ran the 1959 election, they needed money for the North and for the NCNC, Dr. Zick, to fight the election. So what they did, my senior officer, Major Bunker, went around, was ordered by the Governor-General to go to all the major British firms and international firms, Ford, UAC, Leventis, all these firms, and raise money for a slush fund to enable Chief Okoti Igbo, together with the North, to fight the 1959 elections. The North got most of their money from the native authorities. This was looked on by the British as being okay. This wasn't corrupt because we were friends of the North. And if they tried this in the West or in the East, we might have said this was corruption. But because it happened in the North, the native authorities' public money was poured into the government party, the NPU. So this obviously was a terrible fiddle. We were discriminating against the southern politicians in favour of these northern emirs. What we saw was that this would not be the first act of treachery. They would have to smash the action group, because the action group was strong, and in a fresh election they would be sure to win. They were pretty honest and regular guys, and a lot of the British quite admired Awolowo for his brain power, and they admired Chief Inahro, who was a bit cheeky and young and spirited, and they were both quite admired, you know, as they was like right-wing Labour people, nothing revolutionary. And so a great deal of money was raised by my senior officer, Major Bunker, before the 1959 election. And this was money put up by United Africa, by Ford, Shell, BP, and my wife, who was the personal assistant to the general manager of BP Nigeria. She's not going to tell you anything because she was a confidential secretary. I can only tell you that we were very well informed on some of the hanky-panky that was going on in Lagos.
Having revealed now that the election of 1959 was rigged, the census figure were cooked, I don't know if you have been following the ongoing in Nigeria today.
Yes, of course.
The last general election,
yes.
The 1979-1980 election, I mean, in which Azikiwe was the beautiful bride, and I mean...
I have to tell you, sir, that I'm not going to comment.
Okay.
I cannot interfere in Nigeria's domestic politics. I'm a historic figure. I do keep up, naturally, because I love Nigeria, and I've kept up with its history of its assassinations and military coups and dictatorships for 50 years. And this has been one of the biggest tragedies in world history, because this potentially was one of the greatest nations on earth. Nigeria was packed with educated, decent people who wanted to serve their country.
Since you lost that job that the the government threatened or went behind you to say that you were disloyal to them and you were fired. Have you ever worked any other place since?
Have I?
Have you worked in any other company
Yes.
since?
I didn't go to Oxford in the usual way. I came from a very poor family and left school when I was 13 years old. And I served a factory apprenticeship as an engineer, which is very unusual for an Oxford undergraduate. At Oxford also, I trained as a social worker. I'm a fully qualified social worker. So although, and as a personnel officer too, although the government stopped me working when I returned to this country and I was quite ill, I did a lot of voluntary work from this time on, both in the medical field, in the field of young girls. We also had campaigns on comprehensive schools. So I've kept very busy over the decades, although I have been kept out of employment quite deliberately. And when I did take up work, the government came after me and behaved abominably. And they did the most appalling things. They framed me with money missing. When I worked as a humble postman, after I'd worked as a personnel officer, I delivered the post to the workers who I'd employed. And they forced me out of that. They framed me. And later, when I was working in a labour exchange, they used the foulest methods to get me out of work. They told me they would. They said, the Governor General said, unless you do what I say, you will never work.
Ìgbà ọ̀tun ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ọ̀tun ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò ṣẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà.
Hello.
And Mrs. Carol Smith, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
In essence, what Dr. Azikiwe did,
Who was the personal assistant to the general manager of BP Nigeria, she's not going to tell you anything because she was a confidential secretary. I can only tell you that we were very well informed on some of the hanky-panky that was going on in Lagos.
Thinking about how we've been having this conversation about the unity of Nigeria. And I reflect back at some of the prominent statements made by some of our founding leaders. And I feel that probably this will help us to have a conversation on the Nigerian unity. I just brought four, not to bore you. First, and I quote, not my statement, Nigeria is not a nation. It's a mere geographical expression. There are no Nigerians in the same sense as there are English, Welsh, or French. The word Nigerian is merely a distinctive appellation to distinguish those who live within the boundaries of Nigeria from those who do not. This is accredited to Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the former Prime Minister of the Western region. The second one, and I quote, it is true that we politicians always delight in talking loosely about the unity of Nigeria. 60 years ago, there was no country called Nigeria. What is now Nigeria consisted of several large and small communities, all of which were different in their outlooks and beliefs. The advent of the British and that of Western education has not materially altered the situation. And the many and varied communities have not knit themselves into a composite unit. This is accredited to Sir Amadu Bello, former Premier of Northern Region. They thought, and I quote, "Since 1914, the British government has been trying to make Nigeria into one country. But the Nigerian people themselves are historically different in their backgrounds, in their religious beliefs and customs, and do not show themselves any sign of willingness to unite. The Nigerian unity is only a British intention for the country."
Ìgbà ọ̀tun ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ọ̀tun ti dé ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò ṣẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Kò ṣẹlẹ́yàmẹ̀yà mọ́ ọmọ Odùduwà. Àsìkò ti tó. Àsìkò.
They wanted to be separate from the country that the British Empire had imposed on us, which was this country of Nigeria, where they kind of took a bunch of independent nations who don't have anything to do with each other, don't even speak each other's language, don't relate. Many of them were even enemies and warring at the time, smushed them all together and drew these arbitrary lines around them and called them countries and named those countries.
Right.
And then said, now y'all get along and do a country for us and be a union for us. And then go through, contentious, bloody independence processes that never really yield any real independence. You're still part of a commonwealth afterwards.
True.
And you have the eternal meddling in your affairs and the eternal extraction of your resources and the eternal fomenting of divisiveness and infighting in order to be able to control you. This is what an oppressor does, a colonizer does. These are tactics and strategies of dominance.
Right.
We were subjected to that as a larger unit of Nigeria. And then when the Igbo people said, we want our own thing, let's go and do that. Well, it so happened to be that the territory that this new country of Biafra was going to be in included very, very rich oil reserves. And the British were not going to let go of that.
Wow.
And the people that they had put in power, their puppet Nigerian governments weren't going to do that either because they needed it for the Nigerian project.
Right.
And Britain needed it for its own interests and uses. So Great Britain got directly involved in this civil war and in the war for independence and decided that they would do everything to make sure that Biafra did not go.
Wow.
And this everything meant directly funding genocide of the people of Biafra.
It's not about sentiments. It's that there are a group of people in this country that feels that this country should be Islamized. This is a fact. I say you want me to start mentioning names of people in this government that we have interrogated. I was a member of an interrogation team, and I've interrogated a very high-ranking member of this government in 2007, 2008 on the issue of Boko Haram. I interrogated him. He's in this government right now. And what was the issue? Boko Haram. And this senior officer was actually let go because he was found culpable. But right now he's in the government. You see, we must say the truth because if you don't, this country is going down the precipice. We have been set back more than 60 years right now. We've gone back to the time before 1966 now. And whoever is coming back to repair this country has a lot of work to do. This country has never been polarized, so we cannot run away from it. We have never been this much polarized. I'm a federal person.
My mind is federal. My brain is federal. My loyalty is federal. I do things for the federal government. So I cannot come here and try to be sentimental. No. I'm a federal person.
So will your life be at risk now that they're hearing you?
I don't care. I don't care. And my colleagues, they know me. Those people that listen to me, they know me. I don't care. The issue is that this country is bigger than individual. That is the issue. This country is bigger than individuals. Buhari will come and go. Eliminating me or killing me will not solve the problem and will not add value. But he will come and go. And somebody must come and repair the damage to the psyche of this society, the damage to the polarization, to the nepotism that I've never seen in my life. I work with all these presidents. This is the worst situation I've found myself. And believe me, internet does not forget. I was part of the people that helped to bring Buhari to government because I believe in him.
Have you worked with the government after that?
After
you helped bring the government?
Oh, of course, I worked with him. We brought him in 2015, and I work as the Deputy Director of Defense Administration. And we have a lot of hope in him. And we actually are ready to do anything for him. What he has turned out over the years is shocking to us. I was in Harvard in 2014, in December, when the Department of State Services and CIA and others were contemplating about Buhari and other aspirants. I know what we did to convince the American government that the only person that can come and put this country right is Buhari. That was before the Lagos, APC, before they chose within.
Right.
And that was how Tinubu came in. We know what we did, but what he has done in the past 6 years is shocking. It's unprecedented. And it should not be allowed to be swept under the carpet because the damage to the psyche of this country is monumental. We'll talk.
One in Nigeria, then so called Eribegba. Nigeria to fail in the education, to fail in the health, infrastructure, one failing, who cannot fail it, and one failing body and so called running by him. We'll hope with check by, it will let you mommy. Àfáàwé náà wá sí òun kí ló dé wọ́n na ọmọ wa lánàá ni ó rí ìlú pé ọmọ rẹ̀ dánú wọn. Kódà tí Nàìjíríà bá gbọ́ bọ́ọ̀lù tí a bá yege èmi wà náà tí ó máa sunkún. Ẹ yege mi eré pa ẹ fẹ́lì níbi gbogbo nǹkan kò sẹ́ni kéde kò sí ń pa. Bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn kọsẹ̀ kò lè rí òkú lọ́sibítà. Ìṣúná kò sí mi. Wọ́n bóòlù ọ̀nà lọ ọdún mẹ́fà wọn ò ní ṣe eruku pàrọ̀ àdúgbò tán. One in Nigeria, then so called Eribegba. Nigeria to fail in the education, to fail in the health, infrastructure, one failing, who cannot fail, and one failing body and so called running by him. We'll hope with check back, we'll let you go. Àfáàwé náà wá sí òun kí ló dé wọ́n na ọmọ wa lánàá ni ó rí ìlú pé ọmọ rẹ̀ dánú wọn. Kódà tí Nàìjíríà bá gbọ́ bọ́ọ̀lù tí a bá yẹ ìlú wa náà tó bá sọ. Ẹ yege mi eré pa ẹ fẹ́ lè ní gbogbo nǹkan kò sẹ́ni kò sí pa. Bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn kọsẹ̀ kò lè rí òkú lọ́sibítà. Ìṣúná kò sí mi. Wọ́n bóòlù ọ̀nà lọ ọdún mẹ́fà wọn ò ní ṣe ebi kó pàrọ̀ àdúgbò.
Senator Manso, can I just quickly clarify? Did I hear you say that you helped rig elections before now?
Let me tell you one thing. Yes, I did, because I'm now confessing the truth. Look, what do I mean? I don't have to go and change election, but you know, when you provide money, you give money to INEC boys to help you if they see any chance that they should favor you. You provide money to the security. All our elections in the past, I've been in this game for about 40 years. And I tell you, each time, it's not necessarily when I'm contesting election, but when my party sponsors a candidate. I would like that candidate to win election. And what we used to do before, we make provision for INEC, we make provision for security, we make provision for even agents of other parties, so that they will not, raise any objection to whatever we are able to get. So whether I rig myself or not, by providing those resources, financial inducement to the officials, I am rigging election.
Do you think that we can diminish or remove that influence as 2019 approaches?
I believe so, because, you see, if people are born again like me and they refuse to do it, if we, the players, unless we give before somebody will take, right? So don't give, and then we will not get a taker. We will not get a taker. Why? You will not even ask me why am I thinking this way. Look, I am tired of being seen as a criminal in the streets of the world because we are a Nigerian. You assume that everybody is an innocent human being until it's proven otherwise. But once you are outside this country with a green passport and they see that you are a Nigerian, even if you are a pastor or you are an imam, they will assume that you are criminally minded or you have criminal tendencies just because of where you come from. That must change. I am tired of living in poverty in the midst of plenty. I cannot, even no matter how much you have, every day you see people coming to you, relations, friends, this and that. My wife has given birth, my mother is in the hospital, this and that, every day. But if everybody had enough to take care of himself or herself, they won't come bothering you to say, give me this, give me that. And I believe that we have the resources, that people can live a decent life without being beggars to those who have, just because we haven't gotten our own governance system right. So we need good governance. And good governance can only be provided by good people. Good people who are truly repentant, who actually are there to serve the people, who are concerned about the well-being of the people, being the primary concern of the well-being of the people. Then when we have that such leaders, I can tell you they will judiciously and prudently use our resources for the common good of everybody.
Well, that is the segment again. Sometimes we come back in just about a few minutes. We're not staying long. I have to go. But I hope you've enjoyed the 1 hour, 22 minutes of what we can call the situation room. Nigeria is already going through a lot. Nigerians are suffering, and more Nigerians will suffer for the negligence of some of the atrocities that have been committed against crime, against humanity. As we always say, the opportunity is there for us. We can either make use of it or we can let it go. My name is OLAMILEKAN. It's a very good afternoon, good evening, and I have to go now. We will get there, but we must continue to enlighten a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of you have watched some of those videos before, but it's just also good to also bring it as a reminder that nobody is coming to save you.
Perhaps singular among this body's achievements stands the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the standard by which our forebears challenged us to measure ourselves.
They made clear in 1948, human rights are the basis for all that we seek to achieve. And yet today in 2022, fundamental freedoms are at risk in every part of our world. From the violations in Xinjiang, detailed recent reports by the Office of UN High Commissioner, to the horrible abuses against pro-democracy activists and ethnic minorities by the military regime in Burma, to the increased repression of women and girls by the Taliban in Afghanistan. And today, we stand with the brave citizens and the brave women of Iran who right now are demonstrating to secure their basic rights. But here's what I know. The future will be won by those countries that unleash the full potential of their populations, where women and girls can exercise equal rights, including basic reproductive rights, and contribute fully to building a stronger economies and more resilient societies, where religious and ethnic minorities can live their lives without harassment and contribute to the fabric of their communities, where the LGBTQ plus individuals live and love freely without being targeted with violence, where citizens can question and criticize their leaders without fear of reprisal. The United States will always promote human rights and the values enshrined in the UN Charter in our own country and around the world.
We'll have a Twitter space probably maybe tomorrow. I'll look into that. We'll try and do a Twitter space tomorrow. We'll try and get one done tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye for now.